Tonight, a solution to critically low vacancy rates. Brough Highway safety data to be made public. Specialised DV training for every police officer. And water winching exercises for our emergency crews.
This is 7 News with Rob Brough.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us. There's no reprieve for renters, with new data showing Queensland's vacancy rate is nearly 1%. Per capita, it's also the most expensive state to rent in Australia. But one lawyer turned social media star has come up with a daring solution.
The lights are off and nobody's been home at this investment property for more than 4 years.
They could have someone living in it, rent it out or something. Obviously it must be an investor that owns it and they just letting it sit there.
The property is one of up to 136,000 across Australia left vacant for extended periods.
Homes are for people to live in. Let's let people live in them.
0.8% of houses are unoccupied in Hervey Bay and Toowoomba, 0.7% in the Sunshine Coast, Rockhampton and Cairns, while 1% sit empty in Townsville. Jordan Vandenberg, known online as Purple Pingers, offers a controversial solution to help those desperate for a home.
Publishing the addresses of empty homes that have been vacant for quite some time, and particularly in regional Queensland, there are quite a few people reaching out.
Squatting can be legal under adverse possession, but raises moral concerns and isn't an ideal solution.
Of course, it's not their property and they haven't been allocated the property.
The Real Estate Institute of Queensland says outrage over rental shortages is often aimed at owners and investors, despite a lack of social housing over the last 10 years.
People are dying on the streets and we've got empty homes. Let's sort that out, please.
Tom Duffy, 7 News.
What's being described as a win for motorists. Secret road safety data will be released to the public. The federal government has promised better access to critical information relating to the Brough Highway after a media campaign in partnership with the NRMA called for improvements. It comes 2 days after a woman was killed in a traffic crash at Inkerman. She is one of 92 people who've lost their lives on our Queensland roads so far this year. Police are boosting training for officers to cope with call-outs for domestic violence incidents. 17,000 officers will need to complete compulsory DV training. And by the end of this year, specialist units will also be set up.
Sergeant Elise Feltham is the woman behind the state's first specialist DV training package. Based in Townsville, she said police respond to up to 50 domestic violence call-outs every day.
We cannot change this unless people are educated and understand that it is an enormous problem and so many women are losing their lives. So our role ultimately is to support the front line.
Working with local support services, she has designed a domestic violence training package to better equip and support officers, especially those suffering from DV fatigue.
Police back in the day, obviously, you were just tough and you went in and you just did your job. And we didn't recognise the effects it would have on us psychologically.
It's a welcome development for domestic violence survivor Evie Clayton, who was forced to flee to a women's shelter with her mother before moving to Townsville.
When I was a kid, it was a common saying, police don't interfere with domestic affairs. We were both so frightened and we didn't know what to do, because do we call? Will it aggravate him more? Will they help us? Will they come? So it was pretty scary as a kid.
A National Survivor Day ambassador, Evie works to help women and children every day.
I don't want any other woman or child to have to go through what I went through, and they are still going through it at alarming rates. So I think some specialist training to have that full understanding to be able to support survivors is so important.
Bethany Ross, 7 News.
A legal dispute between the tenants and landlords of Bundaberg's Oscar Motel has come to an end in the Supreme Court. Court documents reveal the previous tenants failed to pay 2 months' rent and $7,000 insurance as a tactic to get their landlords to carry out repairs. They claim cracked tiles and broken toilets were losing them business. The judge ruled the defects were not structural and not the responsibility of the landlord. Almost a year after a Centrelink staff member was lucky to survive a brutal stabbing, the federal government has announced $300 million to boost safety, including hundreds of security guards nationwide. Nick McCallum has more.
A shocking attack on a staff member at this Centrelink office last year has triggered a major overhaul of security nationwide. Almost a year ago, team leader here, Joanne Casser, was stabbed, allegedly by a disgruntled client. She's still off work, suffering excruciating pain in her left leg and mental anguish. She's one of a long line of victims of violence in Centrelink, Medicare and tax offices.
People still come in today to find out how I am. We make a difference to everyone's life.
Centrelink staff, Commonwealth public servants, are not the punching bags if you're having a bad day.
So now, to protect staff and clients, a security budget increase of over $300 million over 2 years. Officers upgraded to improve separation between staff and clients. Nationwide, the number of security guards will more than triple.
If it was like this on the 23rd of May, I might not be like this today.
Already, Joanne's colleagues here feel safer.
Out of such a tragic, horrible incident, what a wonderful workplace that my colleagues have to work in now.
And Joanne Casser would still like to return to work at this office as soon as she's fit to do so.
All Bonza flights are being grounded until at least next Tuesday. 160 staff have also been stood down. The administrator said with no immediate scope to resume operations, they were left with no choice. Meetings are continuing over the budget airline's future. The treacherous waters of the Wide Bay have become a training ground for our first responders. Volunteer marine rescue crews are teaming up with Life Flight for 4 days, carrying out exercises to ensure that their skills can handle real-life emergencies.
Clutching onto a lifeboat off Woodgate Beach in the Coral Sea. Calls for help like this putting first responders in high-risk situations.
The ability to winch from and to a vessel from a helicopter can be a life-saving capability.
This week, VMR Harvey Bay and Life Flight Bundaberg came together for a series of water winching exercises to make sure they have the right skills to save lives.
We've worked with them before in search and rescues, but never off the back deck of our vessel.
Training with any organisation is critical to set that foundation, and none more so than with the water winching and more so the vessel transfer training.
So far this year, Life Flight has responded to 4 water missions in the Wide Bay, including from a cruise ship.
We have a very busy shipping channel through the Sunshine Coast and Bundaberg, a lot of recreational vessels and trawlers around this area also.
Joint drills in complex conditions and on various vessels, preparing crews to respond swiftly.
We're able to fish someone out of the water, but they need urgent health care, rush to hospital. The best we can do is about 20 to 25 knots. Helicopters fly much faster, which means that they can respond much quickly.
Caitlin Stedman, 7 News.
You're doing an extraordinary job. We'll take a break in a moment. The Salvo's 60th Red Shield appeal begins to ease tough times, and why the smartphone generation is killing off calls.
The Wide Bay turns to 7 News to keep up to date on local issues, and we want you to be part of it. If there's something happening in your street, your suburb, we want to know about it. Send us a message or drop us an email.
Nice having you with us here on 7 News. Well, the Salvation Army has set an ambitious target as it celebrates 60 years of the Red Shield appeal. This year it aims to raise $38 million across the country as more and more people seek financial support.
We spent just under $40,000 in food and shelter and medication for those who were escaping violence.
The Salvation Army has always been there, so we're really encouraging the community to give generously.
Last year, the charity assisted more than 250,000 people and gave almost $25 million to those impacted by crisis, disaster or hardship. Anyone can donate online or, if you like, through our local fundraising events. We might be a little wacky with our ringtones, but there's been a steady decline in downloads, with young people shunning phone calls and texting instead. A Vodafone survey shows while older Aussies max their volume, Gen Z and Gen Y have gone silent.
Hello? Hello?
They're meant to jolt us into answering, but are ringtones going the way of the dinosaurs? Latest research by Vodafone shows 96% of Aussie boomers always keep their phones on and alert.
Older generations have their phone on full volume.
At 69, I'm sort of like, I need to have something that's quite loud.
But Gen Z and younger are doing the opposite, more than a third turning their phones and notifications to silent, despite their daily screen time averaging more than 7 hours.
While younger generations prefer to communicate via text messages, about 2/3 of Gen Z still consider phone calls to be important.
35% of millennials hit mute, but strangely more than a quarter will buy a custom ringtone. 91-year-old Robert didn't even realise ringtones could be changed.
Do you know what your ringtone is?
No.
But whether they answer now, later or text instead, one thing's certain, future generations won't be hanging up.
In a way, I think we're more connected than ever.
Tom Duffy, 7 News.
Bundaberg's tourism industry has taken centre stage, with 68% of all operators on the Best of Queensland Experiences list from our region. Now, 54 businesses from Bundy were part of the Tourism and Events Honour Roll, including Alexandra Park Playground and Zoo, Big Four Breeze Holiday Parks, Bargara, and the Bundy Rum Visitor Experience. Overall customer reviews have also increased this year to 89.3%. A fourth-generation local store is particularly proud of one employee who's putting the small in small business. 2-year-old Miller has been helping her parents and grandparents stock the aisles ever since she could walk.
Making sure everything has a place, 2-year-old Miller must be one of the youngest employees in history.
When Miller comes into the store, it makes it a little bit more fun because the staff and the customers especially really love having her around.
Her family owns the Tewantin IGA.
We've had to bring her in just occasionally a few times and then she was just took to it like a duck with water.
Miller's grandparents took over in 1993 from their own parents.
We're 30 years old now.
And started a family trend. Miller works hard to earn her pocket money.
Something that a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to do. It's a good education for her and, she can't just enjoy the fruits of the labour.
But occasionally, like any 2-year-old, she needs some motivation and doesn't mind chocolate. It's hoped Miller will stick with it and become the 4th generation to take over the store.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. No pressure, obviously, but we'll see what happens.
Rebecca Jensen, 7 News.
Yeah, no doubt Miller's loving all the attention.
Certainly is, Broughy. Good stuff.
So the Bundy Bears, Nath, revenge on their minds,
They certainly do, Rob. They'll welcome the North Gold Coast on Sunday. They're the only team that's beaten them this basketball season. We'll have more on that next. And the Gold Coast Suns out to spoil the party for a Brisbane Lions debutant from the Fraser Coast.
Stream 7 News anywhere, anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.
And welcome back. Well, the Gold Coast Suns will be out to spoil a special Sunday at the Gabba for the Fraser Coast Bruce Revel. The 23-year-old cannot wait to make his debut for the Brisbane Lions on the weekend, but there will be no easing into the latest Q clash.
Experienced AFL coach Damien Hardwick will oversee his first Q clash between Brisbane and Gold Coast in an AFL round highlighted by numerous grudge games.
It's exciting. Obviously, they're big games. I think the one thing that I love about them, it's like the game last night, showdowns, the derbies, the Q clash. It's a round of footy you want to be involved in.
Even more exciting if it's your debut, and the Fraser Coast's Bruce Revel is ready to roar for the Lions in the All-Queensland contest at the Gabba on Sunday.
I just can't wait to get out there and I look up to all you boys so much. It's going to be a privilege for me to put this jersey on and play out there with you.
Bundaberg's Felice Kafusi is fit for the Dolphins' NRL Queensland derby against the Cowboys, having recovered from a hamstring injury which sidelined him for 3 games.
Yeah, he's back, so got a couple back, still got a few missing, but at least we got him coming back and not going the other way, so that's helpful.
And Bundaberg's Caitlin Tanner has earned an NRLW development contract with North Queensland. Her promotion to the top 30 squad comes on the back of the playmaker being named in the under-19 Maroons emerging squad earlier this week. Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
The Bundaberg Bears will be out to avenge their only loss of the Queensland State League Div 2 season when they face the team that handed it to them this Sunday afternoon. Now, Bundaberg bounced back from that loss to the North Gold Coast Seahawks with a win last weekend, with the coach praising her players' attitude and intensity on the court.
We're not coaching effort and energy at all. That's something that they're just bringing. They understand that's the expectation. So now we can work more on the finer details of executing.
It is a top-of-the-table clash with the visitors out to maintain their perfect record. Meanwhile, in the men's game, the Bulls will be chasing a 3rd straight victory. More than 30 teams will hit the court this long weekend for the Hervey Bay Regional Pickleball Tournament. Newcomers to the sport and seasoned veterans will swing their rackets in various categories.
More than 170 pickleball players will hit the court and hopefully some sweet shots. There will be errors as well, with some competitors picking up a racket for the first time. The tournament was originally created for newcomers. Now there are divisions for those who have sharpened their skills over time.
It developed into a big carnival, so now we've got beginner, intermediate Saturday and intermediate advanced on Sunday.
But arguments over line calls and umpiring decisions aren't likely.
From all over the region, coming here, playing pickleball in a teams event. So the idea is it's competitive, but it's fun. There's no prizes, no medals. You just come, have a good time.
Pickleball participation in the region has grown exponentially in the past 6 months.
We've gone from 60 members to over 120 now. Our last come and try day, we had 175 people turn up. Absolutely mobbed.
Spectators are encouraged to check out the action and see if they might want to give the sport a go too.
And we have got others planned for the coming 6 months. There's a lot of things happening. As a committee, we just don't sit back, we don't relax. We want to grow the sport.
Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
Should be a lot of fun there, Broughy, and that's it for Sport for the Week. Thanks, mate.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Nath. We'll have a look at the weather for the long weekend coming up with Tiarni right after the break.
Good evening, Tiarni Reid with 7 local weather. The Labor Day long weekend is going to be a wet one. In fact, for most areas along the coast, I'd recommend keeping a brolly packed in your bag over the next week. More showers are on the way. The rainfall around Tin Can Bay copped the worst of it. There was 80 millimetres at Coops Corner, while up north at Woodgate received 26. Temperatures today across the Wide Bay Burnett. Gayndah was the warmest at 25 degrees. It was 23 in Gympie, 22 for Maryborough, while Bundy and Hervey Bay both reached 21. On the satellite loop, the whole of the southeast was smothered by cloud today, extending to the Downs. Another big patch was sitting over the far north, and the rest of the coastline had some speckled coverage too. On today's chart, the inland trough over Western Queensland has moved closer, coming into contact with an invisible upper level trough moving in from New South Wales. That's fired up a few storms, and we could see some increased activity around the Queensland border tonight. On tomorrow's chart, the slow-moving trough could potentially trigger some storms in the Downs early in the morning, as well as more showers in the southeast as well. But as it comes closer to the coast, inland areas will start to clear to fairly dry conditions. And now the latest from the Weather Bureau, the boating forecast for Hervey Bay waters. Southeasterlies between 15 and 20 knots tomorrow, winds then becoming lighter for Sunday. For Gari offshore waters, similar to Hervey Bay, with winds turning easterly during the morning and a 1.5 metre swell. For anyone keen to hit the water this weekend, high tide will be at 5 tomorrow morning ahead of the low around midday. And for the Wide Bay and Burnick district forecast, cloudy with a decent chance of showers, most likely from the late morning. Maryborough ranging from 18 to 25 degrees, a top of 25 for Hervey Bay and Bundaberg as well. Looking ahead for Bundaberg, not much of a reprieve from the wet weather until after mid next week. But from Sunday, it should only be fairly light scattered showers. Grace captured this rare double rainbow at Kalula Cove, and isn't it just gorgeous? Thanks for sending that in. Feel free to share your best sunset pics to our email and Facebook page, and it might get a feature. I'm off to relax for the rest of the weekend, but I'll be back on Monday with more weather updates. Hope you can tune in then. Now it's back to the team.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tiarni. Thanks for your company, folks. Have a great weekend. See you back Monday night. Take care. Good night.